Hey everyone, the wait is finally over, so I finally have the Griffin Dual Lock 7 here. I've got attached to my Bergara here in 6.5 Creedmoor. Just picked this thing up this last Thursday. Today is Sunday. I'm out here with the boys doing some long range shooting. Finally getting my first rounds through it, but I just wanted to kind of recap where we left off from the last video. So in the last video, we had sent everything off, done the fingerprints and everything else. Now, it did take me a while from after I received everything to actually sending it in. So when you saw the video, things hadn't actually been submitted just yet with paying for the tax stamp and everything else. So from the time I submitted this to the time I actually got the approval from the ATF, and we did this as a individual, so we did not do it as a trust. Those are turned around a little bit quicker. So via the e-file as an individual, this thing got approved in 20 days. Now, the nice thing, at least as of the time of filming this video, that is not atypical. I actually know several people who have gotten theirs back significantly faster, but still 20 days is not bad. And for reference, the same day that this thing got approved, I got approved for another silencer that had been done as a trust, as an e-filed form 4. That thing was right at about 4 months. So 4 months versus about 20 days doing it first as a trust versus as an individual. So they are turning around pretty quick right now. Now, once the silencer actually gets approved by the ATF, there is a little bit of lag time between that and when they can actually send you the silencer. They have to send something to your chief law enforcement officer. You have to do the 4473 so they can log it into their books or out of their books, and then it actually gets shipped to your door. So there's going to be a couple week lag time between when it's actually approved and when it shows up at your door. But this thing was shipped directly to me once it was approved and all the other paperwork had been completed. Now, in my specific instance, since I knew I wasn't going to be home when this thing was going to be delivered, I just had them hold it at the UPS store, went and picked it up after work, and then went and had the muzzle device installed. So now we've got the Griffin dual lock muzzle device here. This is just the muzzle brake that it came with, which again, they sent prior to the actual silencer being completed. So that was great because I could actually have it attached to the rifle, make sure everything was going to work properly. But now it just simply attaches, and I do have more muzzle devices on their way so I can test this thing out on several other firearms as well. But this thing is now in. We have put several rounds through it here at long range, and literally the first shot out of it, my buddy who's currently shooting up in that little elevated position there was like, man, that sounds great. So we might as well actually shoot it. Let you guys hear the first shots. Now I will be doing a full-length video on this thing once I actually have a lot of testing through it, put it on a bunch of different guns. But it's a whole lot nicer than the K-can that I was running prior to this. This just feels a lot more appropriate for the application, and it just makes everything a little bit more satisfying. So let's do some shots and then just kind of wrap up the overall experience of using Capitol Armory for this process. So we've got we've got steel targets all over the place, as you might be able to see from the camera, but we've got one at 500 meters. So I'm just going to go ahead, go there, and we'll see how this thing sounds from my perspective and your perspective. So I did have to do some re-zeroing once I actually got this thing attached, just because of point of aim, point of impact shift with a different weight silencer, but it was very, very minimal. And as you can see, it does just fine out to 500. So overall, the collaboration between Griffin Armament and Capitol Armory is a super, super simple process. They really take all the guesswork out of it. They send you the packet for your fingerprints. Once you have the fingerprints on file the first time, then you never have to worry about that part again. So they really streamline that process. Again, there is a little bit of extra weight just with the logistics and the requirements for them to be able to ship it straight to your door. But it really couldn't be much easier. Theoretically, you don't even have to leave the house. You can purchase your silencer, they ship everything to you, you fill everything out, send it back in, and then once your approval comes in and all the other paperwork goes through, it just shows up at your house. What else can you ask for? And there are a ton of states that this is legal to do. Not all of them, unfortunately. Not all states allow for NFA items. So take that into consideration. But on their website, they do list all this stuff out as you saw in part 1. And hopefully as time goes on, they'll just be able to add more manufacturers to that list. Ideally, we can get these things off the NFA altogether, and then it'll just be over the counter. But at least in the meantime, this really takes all the guesswork out of it and makes it as simple and as accessible of a process as I think is reasonably possible at this moment in time. So huge thanks to Griffin Armament for supplying the silencer, or at least paying for the silencer for me. And then really great job on Capitol Armory's part for making this process go as smoothly as possible. I really didn't have any direct interaction with them because everything is pretty much automated at this point as far as how paperwork gets filled out and whatnot. So again, just a really simple and smooth process. And at the end of it, I've got a really nice silencer to attach to this rifle, and a whole lot more. Like I said, we'll be doing a whole lot more shooting with this on other rifles as well as they get some more muzzle devices in, so we can really test this thing out and do a full-length review once I've got, you know, 1,000 or so rounds through it. So if that sounds interesting and you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you see that when it goes up. I'm actually going to be doing a couple other videos involving this rifle and some others out here today while we're out here enjoying this long range And so again, if any of that stuff sounds interesting, make sure you're subscribed. Big shout out to my patrons. While Griffin Armament did pay for the silencer, all the ammo and everything else that I'm putting through this was paid for directly from their contributions. So because of that, we post all our content over there early. We do some exclusive content over there, along with monthly live streams. And so if any of that stuff sounds interesting, or you just want to financially support the channel, definitely follow the links down in the description below. But anyway, with all that being said, as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching. So now we're going to run the targets without touching the scope, just doing holdovers. So, starting at 100. 200's 0.6. 300, 1.5. 400, 2.5. Oh, felt too much for wind. 2.5 again. 500, 3.6. 600, 4.9. 7, 6.3. One more. Let's go for 8. 7.8. 5, 6, 7, 8. 7.8. 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. All right, so other than the one that we missed due to wind hold, just holding in the scope out to 800 meters.